With the first pick.
Welcome to 97.7 ZOW's Rock Draft. Now, here's your host, Rod Morgan.
I know it's only a rock draft, but I like it. Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of Classic Rock 97.7 ZOW's Rock Draft. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. You can check me out on weekends on 97.7 FM, and we are going to come at you on this Rock Draft podcast on YouTube and Spotify once a month. We had Brad King on last month. I can't do a rock draft by myself. I need a guest. Let's bring him in now. He is a fellow 97.7 disc jockey. He is my guy, Frank Gasko. Frank, hello.
Hey, man. How you doing?
I am wonderful tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on the second episode of Rock Draft, where we will pick 5 things and compete against one another for listener votes. Frank, I have to let you know I am 1-0 after taking out Brad King in episode number 1. Are you scared that I am undefeated so far?
Tell you something, brother. Let me tell you something. I think that we're going to take over you tonight. Brother.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Competition is coming my way. What Frank and I have decided to do is give you our top 5 driving songs. I don't want to put any more of a justification on it other than that. It can be favorite driving songs. It can be best driving songs. However, Frank thought about that. As you can see, there are numerous cars behind Frank as we speak. We just wrapped up the Indy 500 here in Indiana. We got racing season all throughout the year in northern Indiana, where you can catch Frank at a track near you. You might be going on vacation with your family, so what better than driving songs in June? So Frank, the first question I ask you, what makes a driving song when I first brought this up to you?
My goodness, man. What makes a driving song? You know, I rode bikes for a while. I got into old schools, low riders and everything. That's such a loaded question. I think a driving song would bring peace. Just the open road, looking out of the windshield, like a beautiful night like tonight. Just relaxation, um, a subtle beat, and good vibes. That's what I think.
So you don't necessarily think there's any certain instrument you're looking for. You don't necessarily need the word drive or ride in there. It's more about the mood that the song sets for you, if I'm to take that correct.
Absolutely, because you got to think about the time of the day, and you know we've participated in many car shows, many like car club events, MC events, things like that. I rode with the Hells Angels. I've done this, I've done that, and you know, by the grace of God, just been able to associate with these kind of people, and the vibe is different everywhere. But personally, for me, I just like a subtle "let's cruise" style, you know. But you also bring in like those days. It's kind of like, you know what? I need to put the pedal down and just I need this, you know. Sometimes.
I like that. That's definitely more where my head goes when you start to talk about driving songs, right? Is I think about something I want to be out on the open road to. I think about kind of a continuous, maybe a thumping beat, right? I think about drums. I think about bass. And I think about guitar solos. But I got to admit, the other thing that popped into my head immediately when I thought about a driving song, Frank, is sing-along ability. Does that factor in for you when you think about a driving song?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, it depends on if your wife, uh, or girlfriend or whatever you may be with at the time desires your such character. My ex-wife used to enjoy my singing, to a point. So there is a definite point of singability to the song, I think. If you can't sing out loud, man, and just be yourself with the tune, I think you may need to find something else, because I think that being able to open yourself up to sing said tune is a beautiful thing.
I love that because what I think to myself as well when I think about driving, the purest expression of joy and love for a song to me is when you're by yourself and you're not performing for anyone else. And I'm not on the radio trying to talk about it, or I'm not playing the song for a friend of mine in the backyard, right? I'm alone in my car by myself, and what comes up out of me. And for me, 9 times out of 10, it's singing. So I'm absolutely, most of these songs that I'm going to come with tonight are ones that I love singing along with. It is a distinct part for me. You mentioned driving songs for you are vibe. I wonder, is there a certain instrument you think sets the vibe better than others when you think of your driving songs?
So eh, I like to stay with like the times. You know what I mean? I have this. I got a '79 Lincoln Continental that has an 8-track player that still works. So I like
All
to
right.
I I bought some Wayland tracks, I bought some Journey tracks, I bought, everything works in that car. But to be in that, I'd like to be in the vibe of the '70s, late '70s as you're progressing into the '80s in that car. I've got a '91 Firebird right there, right there. And I think that every time I'm in these vehicles, uh, I like to think about what it may have been to be in them as they were new. So I always think about, man, what were the tracks that the person that bought you knew would have played? Was it Van Halen? Was it this or that? That Lincoln, I would think Frank Sinatra maybe, you know, stuff like that. So it just it's very. I'm a big car guy, so it's a big thing for me, and a lot of people give me shit because I'm like, man, I like the vibes. I would love to see who the folks who bought these cars like to be into. So to me, as we cruise, um, it's a thing for me. So
I find that very interesting. I hadn't at any point thought to myself that a driving song should also incorporate the car. And why wouldn't it, right? Once you started saying that, it seems so obvious to me that maybe the vibe of the car should be taken into account, where the car started, what the designers and the fabricators of the car might have had in mind for that certain type of design, that certain type of sound system, that certain type of interior, who had it before you if it was a used car. I never once considered that. See, Frankie, that's what this podcast is all about. I wonder how many people out there like you are thinking about driving in the car and that the music is almost just part of the background. Whereas for me, the driving is secondary and it's the song that sets the mood.
so before we get into our list here, real quick, a couple weeks ago I stumbled upon the Johnny Cash Folsom Prism unreleased stuff. Okay, so the Johnny Cash version of Folsom Prism, all this and that, was simply all the tracks 1, 2, 3, 4, blah blah blah. I stumbled across that they had recorded the entire thing from the person who stepped out and spoke about the things and this and that. Uh, I found that in that Lincoln right there. And I thought that was really cool because it was recorded on such a system that sounds perfect in that car. That does not sound perfect in that truck. It sounds like shit in my truck. But in that, it sounds good. And I always thought that was really cool because uh, the vehicles that you may drive may incorporate a sound that you're looking for again that you may never find. So as we're talking about our top 5 driving songs, it could be very different for a lot of people. So, you know, uh, yeah, I think that's just a great thing to do. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we come up with these top 5s.
Wonderful. So I just wanted to make mention of how before we lived in the world of being able to dial up anything we want on our phones, and before we lived in a world where we could put an 8-track or a CD into a car, we had to have the radio, right? And there was something about the perfect song coming up on the radio, and I couldn't help but think back to every one of these songs that I'm going to pick. I couldn't help but think back to times where I was in the car and I basically had my fingers crossed, right? Or I had my lucky rabbit's foot, or I had my lucky necklace on, or my favorite hat, right? And I was rubbing on it like, please, please let the DJ play Slow Ride from Edgar Winter Group right now. I need to hear Slow Ride right now. We're in the car with my buddies. We're out cruising in the country. If they played Slow Ride right now, it would be perfect. And then Slow Ride comes on. There's nothing quite like that joy that we used to get, Frankie, when we needed the radio to play us the perfect song that it did, right?
That's absolutely right. That goes back to that Lincoln over there, man. That was the first car I ever rode in. Not that specific car, but I rode in one like it to take my first road trip, things like that. And it was all country and rock and roll and things like that between my Uncle Jerry and my mama. And we always were trying to, like, what's this song within the first 3 or 4 seconds of what it was? You had to try to name it, this and that. And dude, I know you've done that before, and just great stuff. Um, so is that your number 5, or what is that?
Oh, no, that was just me throwing out one there. That was me just giving you a little, again, Frankie, this is a competition, right? So now we are going to go into the rock draft portion of the Rock Draft podcast. I always let the guest pick first, so you will pick your first track. I'll pick mine. At the end, we're going to recap our 5 picks, and then the listeners out there will decide who wins. As I stated, I am currently 1-0, and I hope to remain undefeated. I love all of my fellow coworkers who I will bring on the podcast, but it is my mission to dominate and beat all of you. So I was throwing out what they call a red herring there, Frank, making you think that I wanted to draft Edgar Winter Group Slow Ride. So now I have done my mental games, and it's time to start Rock Draft. Guest goes first. Frank Gasko, number 1 pick in the Driving Songs Rock Draft. You go with what?
Is it number 1 or number 5 pick? Because this is my number 5 pick.
This is your list, Frank. But if you think that you have a song on your list that I might want, I'd pick it now. That would be my only advice to you.
So I was kind of conflicted because I always really loved Highway Star from Deep Purple. I hate Buck Cherry. Put that on the record. I hate Buck Cherry.
Okay.
It's Lit. Lit is a kick-ass tune, but I just am not a fan of Buck Cherry, okay? But I will tell you, they had a kick-ass cover of Highway Star. So I will say Highway Star from either Deep Purple or Buck Cherry would be my number 5. Our listeners can do with that what they will. I think it's a great tune either way.
I think that's very, very good. I think
if I had to choose, we have to go with the original. We have to go with Deep Purple.
Okay. I was going to make you pick one, and you're going to go with Deep Purple, and I think that's a strong pick, and I'll tell you why, Frank. I think you're getting some video game nostalgia here as well, okay? Highway Star was a huge track on Rock Band.
What are you talking about here?
See, you're smart. Listen, you came in here acting like you don't care about competition, and you're immediately going for video game nostalgia freaks to get on board your 5 picks. Frank, I love it. You slide devil you. You slide devil you. Now I'm going to have to come out swinging with the big guns for my first pick. All right, so for my first pick, I am going to go with... All right, you know what I'm taking with my first pick? I am going to take an 80s hair metal band. Not my normal vibe. I'll be honest with you. That's not my normal vibe. I don't live there very often. I don't find myself wishing I was living in LA in the 80s and checking things out at the Roxy. I don't find myself there very often. But if I'm driving and Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue comes on, forget about it. Absolutely forget about it. The guitar solo at the beginning of that song, the driving bass, Tommy Lee just going absolutely bonkers. Give me Kickstart My Heart as my number 1 pick, Frankie. Are you scared now that I came right where you live and went to hair metal?
No, because it's like that's my Ricky Bobby song. Like Ricky Bobby had a whole thing to that. You remember the phrase? I hope she's 18. Maybe not what he should have said, but
Shake and bake.
hey, shake and bake. You gotta shake and bake, baby. All
But no,
right.
I hope she's 18. That's a good line too.
God damn, I hope she is. Okay, so check it out. So we're moving up the list here, and it's always been, man. You put me on the spot here because there's so many that we could both have for our top five. Just incredible songs. Um, man, I've got two here that I'm kind of,
You
I'm,
can't make two picks at once. Only one.
I know it. Man, I'm gonna have to go with "Long Cool Woman." I gotta do it. That's my number.
Ooh, okay. I like that as a pick. I really do.
Yeah, gotta do "Long Cool Woman" from the Hollies. Uh, Always been a fan of like the cops and robbers thing, and the songs about deep undercover type stuff like that. You got to love that song, the vibe. You got to love the riff, and that riff also uh, tuned a lot of the rock and roll that came after it. From the Hollies, just an incredible tune. Um, it may only be less than 3 minutes, but when you hear that, like that beginning riff, you got to put the pedal down a little bit. You just got to enjoy it.
And sure, like you said, you can focus in on the fact that he's working for the FBI and undercover and all that, right? But if you want to get down to it, he starts out the song with "Saturday Night I Was Downtown." That just puts you in a vibe right there, right? You're just automatically in a vibe. It sets you up to be in a good place. He's singing, he's getting into it by the end of it. He's giving you, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great pick, Frank. You really are coming for the crown here. You came in here acting like you were a lamb and you're a lion. I love this out of you.
And then goes rogue. He goes rogue once he said, "Come with me." He goes rogue. So it's
I
a
like
whole.
that. All right. Okay. I listen. You're coming at me strong. You're really making me rethink where I've got to go with my picks. I was thinking some of these I could just pick all these off, and now you're making me think I got a couple that I'm worried about. Here's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go with a little band from the 70s named Sweet. All right. You may know them mostly because Tia Carrere covered Ballroom Blitz in Wayne's World. That's not what I'm going with, though. I'm going with Fox on the Run from Sweet because that's the ultimate driving song, baby. We're literally talking. Frank, you'll have your turn. It's my pick. I'm just kidding, of course. But Fox on the Run, ultimately a song about hunting. What are they hunting? I'll leave that up to you listeners. We want to keep this a little more family friendly around these podcasts. What exactly they're hunting, I'll leave that up to you. But the keyboards, come on. I didn't mention keyboards earlier in the intro, but keyboards can do it a lot for me with driving songs, and Sweet is there. What do you think of that one, Frankie?
Dude, I think it's a kick-ass tune. It's not one that I've listened to frequently, but I've definitely heard it a lot of times, and it's not one that I would turn if it comes on. So I won't hit the forward button. You know what I mean? So that's a great tune. Yeah, kick ass. I like that.
I also believe that it gets officially validated as a driving song, in my opinion, if it appears on either one of the Days That Confuse soundtracks, and this song, in fact, does. So I think that also stamps it as a driving song. But, Frankie, you got pick number 3.
All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we're working with here. We got a couple. I'll tell you what. This song's been covered a few times. It's from 1972, uh, and it's from a little band from Texas by the name of ZZ Top. Just Got Paid.
Uh-oh. Nice. That's a good one. Underrated ZZ Top. Love that.
Um, the guitar riff out of that is just like just kick-ass guitar riff. And I think all of us blue collar guys have always been like, man, I just got my paycheck. We're going out to fucking kick ass tonight. You know what I mean? And there's none of us, and you have as well. On a Friday night, we've all blew the whole paycheck, and now we're Sunday night. What are we gonna do for the rest of the week? We've all done it, and that was like
Sure.
such a kick-ass song, man. I loved that, and just the vibe to the song is just like, man, let's just cruise a little bit, and it drags out a bit. Um, yeah, great tune. So that's my number three. Just got paid from ZZ Top.
What I've always appreciated about Just Got Paid from ZZ Top and a few of their other songs is I think the fact that those guys are from Texas and certainly heard a lot of country music growing up. They were a little bit more willing to tell the story in a
That's right.
song than a lot of other rock bands were, right? A lot of other rock bands want to make allusions to, they want to try to make you think about it. They want to tell you something that can mean two different things, right? And ZZ Top was like, you know what country music singers do? They just tell you what they want to tell you. And I think that that's a lot of coolness out of ZZ Top. I dig that as a third pick. All right, so I guess that means it's up to me to make my third pick. And, like, you can give me a song that has the word driving or ride in it, and I'm still fine with it. I'm not going to tell you that I'm above that. I'm not going to tell you that I'm better than that. I'm not going to say that it's too obvious to have a song like that. And so I'm going to go to an absolute stone cold yacht rock classic. I'm going to go to one of the Mount Rushmores of yacht rock. I'm going to go to one Christopher Cross. And I'm going to go to a song where he got a little bit out of his comfort zone. He got a little bit away from sailing, and he got a little bit away from Arthur, and a little bit away from the ballad. And he did a song about being an outlaw and running to the border, and he called it Ride Like the Wind. That's my third pick, Frankie. Ride Like the Wind, Christopher Cross.
Hey, great tune, man. That is, you know what? That's something I didn't think of. Man, what a great tune. You and I both love that old school outlaw style, like just out of the box type thing. Man, that's a great tune right there. Also, uh, we've all got kids, um, but a lot of folks watching this podcast have kids. So with the Sing series from, I'm not sure if it's Disney or not, what the hell ever it is, but Ride Like the Wind was a part of, I think, Sing 1 or 2 from one of the characters that was like their American Idol styled audition into uh into the flick. So that was pretty cool, man. Yeah, I love that track. Great choice. Yeah.
I think it was also just in season 3 of Euphoria, I believe I saw Zendaya's character was muling some drugs across the border, and this song was the song she was choosing to listen to while she was doing that. So, not that I'm condoning that behavior, but people think that Zendaya's pretty cool, so I guess that means that my song's pretty cool. You see what I'm doing here, Frankie? I'm trying to drum up votes. I need to win. This is a competition.
We can call a couple of my friends as long as they don't say their own names and never
Maybe
mind.
that's for a different show. How about we move on to your pick number 4? Let's get back on topic here. Pick number 4. What do you got for us?
Do here. Let's see. Well, my pick number two. Pick number two would be, man. You know what? I've got to do this because I'm such a NASCAR fan. I love anything fast, going left. I've raced cars for the last 14 years this year. Um, this track was specifically redone for NASCAR. Uh, this comes from the Reload album. It is Fuel from Metallica. Dude, just give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Oh, dude, phenomenal tune right there. And so it was reworded specifically for NASCAR. Um, so the recorded track is not the same that you heard if you are a NASCAR fan and seen or heard the track as that was presented to you during a NASCAR race. The words are not the same. So you have to find the words on YouTube that go with the NASCAR stuff. But the track Fuel alone was just incredible. Also, just re released that album remastered and had a lot of good stuff with it. You can check that out over on Amazon. Just found it on Amazon as well.
Was that on the same album with the Until It Sleeps? Was that album? Was that off the Load Metallica album, or was that a later album?
Ooh, I don't. Man, you put me on a spot because I don't know if that's Reload or Load. You're putting me on
Yeah, I
a
was gonna
spot.
say I couldn't remember. I knew it was one of the. I think it's actually Reload. I don't think Fuel was on the first load. I think it was on the Reload. But that was later period Metallica. People try to get a little divisive on later period Metallica, and I think frankly they're just being a little too cool, right? Like Metallica is just one of the greatest metal bands of all time, like just full stop, right? Like you look throughout the course of rock and roll history, a lot of bands got a little bit maybe less cool near the end of their time because you know what? They got old. All of us get less cool when we get old, all right? Let's not hold it against Metallica for naturally aging like the rest of us.
Okay, hold on a second though. I seen them in Nashville last year. In May. It was May 3rd or 5th last year. They kicked ass, dude. They were just absolutely
Sure.
phenomenal. So
They always kicked ass. That's what I mean. Anybody who tried to give Metallica a tough time was just being too cool for school.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Clip that one out and run that one on the socials for 97.7. Anybody that got mad at late period Metallica was too cool for school. That's what the podcast's all about, Frank.
Oh yeah.
All right. Speaking of Metallica, I'm gonna go into. I went into the 80s, right? I got the 70s represented with Sweet. I got the 80s with Motley Crue and Christopher Cross. I'm gonna climb myself into the 90s here, and I'm gonna go with a song from a guy who doesn't get a lot of play on classic rock radio, and that bums me out. Frankly, he doesn't get a lot of play on pop music radio. He doesn't get a lot of play on R&B radio. He doesn't get a lot of play anywhere. It's unfortunate, but he's really, really good, and that's Lenny Kravitz. Are You Gonna Go My Way? Tell me that song doesn't come on and you aren't instantly ready to run through a wall, drive hours, start playing air drums, playing your own air guitar. Oh, you cannot be in a bad mood the minute Are You Gonna Go My Way comes on. I have rallied that this song should be played on Classic Rock 97.7 since I started almost a decade ago, Frank, and one of these days I will win and they will relent and play it.
Okay. So we are playing Lenny Kravitz. I don't know if it's that song. We can get the log together and see what it is. But my goodness, I'm just not a Lenny fan. Uh, I think he's talented as hell. I really do. Um, I just think he's kind of like a wannabe.
Of
You
course
know?
he is. But how many great songs have been made by wannabes throughout history, Frankie? Come on.
Okay, you're not wrong.
Elvis was a bit of a wannabe. If we're being honest about things, and we call him the king of rock and roll.
Hey, your hat says all that because Johnny Cash and Buddy Holly and all them recorded songs from Elvis. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's just like it goes back to my article and my argument about Metallica, right? Anybody that wants to get mad about late period Metallica is just being a little too cool for school, right? Anybody that says, "Oh, Lenny Kravitz was trying," guess what? Anybody who releases a video on MTV is doing, trying to be a famous musician. You know what I mean? Like that's just all there is to it. Like let's not get mad at Lenny, all right? The guy was married to Lisa Bonet at one point in his life. He's done very, very well for himself.
That is true. All right, we will talk.
We'll agree to disagree. I'll still love you, Frankie. I'll still love you. What do you got for our final pick here? You're the last one to round out your list.
The way you described that. You know what? I'm going to change my opinion. I think I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on Lenny Kravitz.
That a boy.
Also, when Lenny Kravitz became big, I was in the 3rd grade. So if that makes you feel old,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you're welcome. Okay, so I've got a few songs here that I thought should be my first. I just felt like Molly Hatchet, "Flirting with Disaster," should be
Pick the song.
dude. Uh, just a whole vibe, man. A lot of folks like. I think a lot of folks would be like, "Oh, it's Steppenwolf." No, "Flirting with Disaster," Molly Hatchet. That entire album itself is a driving album. Just to cruise, just enjoy yourself. But "Flirting with Disaster" to me, number one driving song of all time.
Number one driving song of all time goes to Molly Hatchet, who I will always remember the first and maybe the last ever concert they had at Ancilla College in wonderful Donaldson, Indiana, was Molly Hatchet rolling into town soon after the Labor Day weekend and Blueberry Fest, I believe. I don't know if I attended that concert because I might have been like a freshman in high school and I wasn't entirely sure who Molly Hatchet was. But as the years rolled by, I was like, oh, I know who Molly Hatchet is. They've been living on album-oriented classic rock stations my entire life. That's who Molly Hatchet is. Flirting with Disaster is great. Listen, he literally says, I'm traveling down the road and I'm flirting with disaster. You're doing that every time you get behind the wheel, whether you want to admit it or not. All right, so there's a lot of songs I could pick, and we'll do a couple of shout-outs here in honorable mention before we close up shop and get out of town. But the one that I had to get is I needed to slow it down a little bit. Right? I needed to kind of we're relaxing. Maybe we're not going as hard as we're going with Kickstart My Heart. You know, maybe we're not riding like the wind with Christopher Cross in this one. Maybe we're slowing down a little bit. Not completely to a crawl, but we're slowing down a little bit. And I'm going to give you Running Down a Dream, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. All right, Tom Petty is the jukebox king. Tom Petty's jingly guitar just lends itself to being out on the open road, seeing trees, seeing corn, seeing dust, seeing a watering hole up on the corner that you're thinking about stopping at and turning on more Tom Petty songs and sitting down at some booth where you get stuck a little bit and then somebody brings you a menu that your fingers get stuck to even more and you can order up some terrible jalapeno poppers or some mozzarella sticks or some pub skins or some terrible excuse for a burger, but Tom Petty's playing on every one of those jukeboxes.
Hey man, great tune, man. You cannot deny Tom Petty and his just his catalog, his talent, anything like that. But you know what? Tom Petty just doesn't like do it for me, I guess. I love him, love his stuff, but there's a lot of folks that I would put before him.
You heard it here first. Tom Petty fans, do not vote for Frank's list of 5. He is not into Tom Petty. You heard it here. I don't know about the negative campaign that Frank is running, trying to garner votes here in the rock draft competition, but I appreciate his honesty because it makes for good content.
Yeah. Hey, do not tag Brad King in this because Brad King will flag the whole damn thing. Tom Petty
All right,
is
let's
his.
He does love Tom Petty. He's a definite Tom Petty fan. And I will probably remind him when he comes on and joins us in July that you were trashing Tom Petty on this, but he'll actually see it. That's the thing. He's the boss of our station. He's going to see this podcast, Frank. You can't sneak it past him.
That's all right.
All right, let's give a couple of. Actually, you know what? Before we give honorable mentions, let's recap our 5 so we don't confuse anybody. These are the 5 songs that people are to judge us on. I will go first. My list of 5 is Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue, Fox on the Run by Sweet, Ride Like the Wind, Christopher Cross, Are You Gonna Go My Way, Lenny Kravitz, Running Down a Dream, Tom Petty. Frank Gasko, your 5 songs are?
Well, my 5 songs are going to be Highway Star, Deep Purple. Buck Cherry did that as well, but you got to go with the original, man. I love the Deep Purple sound. And then Long Cool Woman from the Hollies. Love that. Just Got Paid from ZZ Top. Kick ass tune right there. Then number 2 was Fuel from Metallica. That was actually written, and then NASCAR picked it up and asked them to change their lyrics just a little bit to make it more NASCAR friendly. That was obviously in the early or late 90s. My number 1 was Flirting with Disaster from Molly Hatchet. Just a really cool tune. The album is great. I got a couple runners up as well. I'm going to let Rod go first and talk about his runners up.
Yeah, if we're going to go honorable mention here, I've got to go more to my upbringing, my junior high, my high school days. Shout out to the Toadies and Possum Kingdom. You were thought of. Shout out to my favorite band of all time, Pearl Jam and Animal. You were thought of. Also, quick shout out to Bush for Machine Head and Smashing Pumpkins for Cherub Rock.
Oh, dude. Bush kick ass, dude. I don't think that Gavin could have ever written anything bad. Gavin Rossdale, just awesome dude. Love him. And so Smashing Pumpkins as well. I've kind of always been on the fence about like Pearl Jam, but
Frank, you better watch your words right here. If you ever want to come on this podcast again, you better watch your words about Pearl Jam.
Okay, so Alice in Chains better than Pearl Jam. I'm just saying.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, we'll have that. There will be a grunge episode of this podcast, and it seems as if you were trying to make your way in here so that I can absolutely browbeat you for 15 minutes about how ridiculous that opinion is. But this isn't the grunge episode, Frankie, but I love that you're still dropping hot topics for the people. So Tom Petty fans, don't vote for Frank. Pearl Jam fans, don't vote for Frank. All right? Anybody else you want to trash here, Frank, to not get votes for your 5 before we close up shop?
Alice in Chains fans, just do it up. Hey, so my runners up, man. I gotta say, Leonard Skinner for sure. Leonard Skinner had a lot of great stuff. Call Me the Breeze. Their self
Great song.
just incredible. They really shaped. I have to be biased because I'm such a like Southern rock guy. I love the stuff from Leonard Skinner, Molly Hatchet, people of that nature. The Marshall Tucker Band, things like that. And I love their stuff. So I have to put them in the rotation here for what I like to have. And I think "Call Me the Breeze" was one of the greatest songs ever written. And then Curtis Lowe, for sure, talks about a gentleman that he found on the side of the street that had nowhere to go, nowhere to be, or no family, this and that. And they, the young man, like took him stuff just to hear him play. And I think that's a really great thing that today's people should incorporate. If you see somebody that is in need or maybe just needs to talk to, need somebody to talk to, I think that's great. So yeah, so those are my runners up. I don't have very much more, but yeah, I think so. I think "Call Me the Breeze" and Curtis Lowe, and right, yeah, we'll do that for my runners up.
That sounds good. Listen, we are losing light where you are badly, so we should probably write this show up. You started out with all your cars behind you in a wonderful sunshine, and now you're coming at us from a dark void. But this has been a very, very fun episode. Frank, I can't thank you enough for joining me on episode number 2 of Rock Draft. We will be back next month. Our plan is to have quite a few of us together for a draft that celebrates American rock bands, because America turns 250 in July. We're going to be celebrating here on Rock Draft. Thank you so much to you for downloading and listening and subscribing on YouTube and on Spotify and soon to be other podcast platforms. Thank you to Jimmy Jamriska, executive producer of this podcast, who puts it all together for us. And thank you to Brad King and the staff at Classic Rock 97.7 for presenting us. I am Rod Morgan. Till we rock draft again, thanks for listening.